morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being on this distance learning webinar this morning. It is early here. I'm trying to get this done while my kids are still eating breakfast before it gets too loud. So I hope everything is well with you. I hope you're healthy. I know it's a crazy time, and I'm hoping that these tips and tricks will be helpful for all my fellow STEM teachers out there. So let's dive in. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Ashley Pareda. I am the owner of Career in STEM. I am in the same boat with you all, trying to manage my company as well as schooling from home with my kids. They're actually right over there, which is why I keep looking there. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and everything that I've created is intended to be able to use online and offline, all tried and tested with real kids. So let's dive in with my favorite tips and tricks for distance learning. So despite the tremendous obstacles, there are some things, these two things particularly, that distance learning can help you with. Number one, you finally have a time for things that you don't always have time for in the normal classroom, like career exploration, being creative, and connecting interests to careers. Number two, distance learning also provides a unique opportunity for you to build pipelines into your existing programs. I'll talk a little bit more about that one at the end. So if you're anything like me, your inbox is bombarded with resources right now, which is awesome. So many different organizations and companies are responding to this national crisis and offering lots of good free stuff. There's just so much of it. So I will share with you what I look for when you're curating or looking through distance learning resources. I also have a list of lists, so to speak, and I'll share the link with that in a couple seconds. But first of all, what makes a good distance learning resource? Sorry, I think I need another cup of coffee here. It's early, excuse me. What makes a good distance learning resource is that they are flexible and that they're student friendly. So it's very important to me, the most important thing is that it's clear what the students should be doing. I think there's a lot of great stuff out there, but there's also a lot of stuff that I've seen coming through my inbox and being advertised, at least, that as an educator, I even kind of have a difficult time figuring out what the resource is and what I'm supposed to do. So just keep in mind that this is hard for your students too. It's of course hard for us as educators trying to lead the charge, but it's also hard for kids trying to figure out how to learn online. A lot of them, it's completely new. Of course, they're well adapted to using technology, but they've never had to use it in this way. So just keep in mind that we want to try to make this easy for the students as much as possible too. So a good distance learning resource should be self-paced. Students can do it whenever and wherever. And also important to me is a mix of on and offline. All screen time is not created equal, we know that, but there's a lot of stuff that kids can do at home that is off of the screen too. There's tons of labs that you can do with tinfoil, straws, toothpicks. So having a mix of on and off screen to me is very important. Last, it's just simple and uncluttered. To me, the best resources are the most simple and the easiest for kids to access. Last is providing a next step. So to me, a good distance learning resource will help all students connect an interest to a career. So for example, say Johnny did a computer science web quest, which happens to be one of the distance learning resources in my store, and say he loves it. Distance learning provides a unique opportunity for Johnny to take a next step right here and right now. Whereas in the normal classroom, the bell might ring, Johnny would leave. He may or may not remember that he was even interested in that. He may or may not take a next step on his own. In distance learning, we can help him take that next step immediately and leverage interests that students find for themselves. So I have a quick example. This happens to be one from my store, but regardless of what resource you're choosing, I'm just going to go through that list of what I look for using one of my resources. So one of the things I've been working really hard to make over these past few weeks are mini courses, self-guided mini courses that teens can complete on their own. And this is an example of, to me, what a good distance learning resource would be. Number one, that it's visually appealing, that kids actually look at it and think, oh, this is kind of cool, I might as well just thumb through it. Number two, it's very clear right off the bat what I should be doing. So I know that I'm going to click one of these things and I'm going to do it. A way for students to self-guide and self-assess. So it doesn't have to be fancy. This is just a simple quiz with the answers upside down. But a way I know from my own kids trying to be a homeschool mom right now is I don't want to just sit there and tell them what to do every second of the day. I want them to be able to scaffold themselves through a lesson as well. So a good learning resource, distance learning resource, will do that for you. Help guide them and make it clear and provide a way to self-assess. So again, it's pretty clear what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to click this. Another thing that I've incorporated into these little online mini courses is a way for students to still stay connected. So I have an online group. You can use, of course, mine if you're using this resource, but there's also things like Edmodo and Google Classroom to stay connected because your students miss you, and I know you miss your students. So keeping connected is also important in this time. A quick way to learn about what that career entails. In this case, it's civil engineering, so they're going to learn how to read blueprints. A quick assessment, again, checking for understanding. Students can figure it out if they got it or not. And then a challenge. So this is just a hands-on project-based challenge where students look at an online infographic and then using only materials in their house. So again, a good mix of online and offline activities to build a futuristic amusement park design. And then my resources all provide next steps. So say Juanita really loved this civil engineering mini course. She wants to learn more about it. All of these are links for her to be able to learn more about this career and connect her interest, which she's identified in this mini course, to a future career. So this is just one of hundreds of examples that I have in my own store, and there's tons of other resources out there, but those are the steps I use to make sure a distance learning resource is good. And personally, I always look for that next step as well, being the career connection. So I'll be posting my curated list of all the distance learning resources that I've already gone through at careerinstem.com/distance learning tips. And this will also be included as a link when I send out the recording for everybody who has requested it. So again, you can do this on your own. It is not rocket science. I do have over 150 plus ready-made distance learning resources. You can see my catalog at careerinstem.com. Almost all my stuff is under $5. So a good starting point if you're looking for one. So my overarching tip is to help your students define their interests and connect them to careers. This is not something that we always have time for in the normal classroom, but the distance learning environment can make sure every student can take that step immediately. So you might be asking, this all sounds great, Ashley, but how do I actually do that? Say I've planned this lesson, students go through it, and now I have a student that's interested, but now what do I do? The easiest place to start is with career exploration resources. Because everybody's home and online, what we can do is just provide students a list of careers. So if Juanita loved this hydrology lesson, great. We can send her to some resources where she can find more information about hydrology, for example. There are some excellent free ones. This will also be included in the link at that distance learning tips. This one. So I'll also include the links to some of my favorite free resources, My Next Step, ONET, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So it's really simple, even if you just put up a Google Doc with the links to the things that I think are the most high quality as a starting point in terms of career exploration. Just put that up and put the students in the driver's seat. This isn't something that you need to spend hours of your time curating for your students. If you just provide a next step, maybe just title the document Next Steps for Careers, and then students will be in the driver's seat to find careers that relate to what they were interested in. So there are lots of free ones. I'll show you one that I developed. So this is the Career in STEM Explorer tool that I developed because all of the STEM career exploration resources that I found as a teacher were overwhelming to kids and they weren't visually engaging. They didn't hook them in wanting to explore STEM careers. So everything that you see here, I have built to help solve that problem. So going back to connecting students with careers that match their interests, we'll use that computer science example from earlier. So say you did a lesson, maybe you did an hour of code. That's a great online learning resource, online activity. And you had some students that were interested and they wanted to learn more about computer science. You could send them to this page and they could explore lots of different careers in computer science. All the careers that I have created, there's over 100 different profiles, and they all are set up in a similar way. So there's a picture of someone doing it, student-friendly definition, virtual job shadow that shows the person actually doing the job, not just talking about it. To me, that was very important. Downloadable info sheet in English and Spanish. The info sheets lead to the Bureau of Labor Statistics page. If a student was interested, they could do even more research. And ending with the try it activity, where students do what that real STEM professional does as a test drive. So this is my tool that I've created to be able to help students take that next step. I'll show you another one. So ONET is a great career exploration resource. I personally find it hard to navigate, especially as a student, but you can do similar things as you can with my site. For example, you can search by STEM, but it just is kind of, I don't really understand exactly what's going on sometimes, and there's a lot of information. But it's free, and it's a great starting point to send kids to continue their explorations in connecting their interests to careers. So in summary, the tip number 2 is to provide a starting point. So if we are going to make a STEM career connection, or at least help students take a next step after each lesson, a great place to start is lists. You can use my Career in STEM Explorer, which is 25% off right now, or any of the free resources that I'll link to in the distance learning post. And then tip number 3, which I hinted at that I will talk a little bit more about, is distance learning presents a unique opportunity for schools and districts to build their pipeline. There's 3 ways primarily that I see this happen. The first example being the most popular way that I see this going down is building pipelines to district CTE pathways. So for example, if your district has a career and technical education program, you can connect students within pathways within your district. So because if you're doing all these things, students are exploring careers more, they're connecting their interests to careers, the natural, logical, no-brainer next step is for them to know what they should do next in your school system. So if Chloe really liked agriculture, then you want to make sure that Chloe knows that you have an agriculture program at your local high school. If Joseph was really interested in architecture, you want to make sure that he connects with an architecture after school program that you're running over the summer. So that's what I mean by building your pipeline. The more students are engaged in career exploration, the more they're going to be prepared to enter a next step, whether that's a CTE program, whether that's a mentorship program that you have as part of a work-based learning program, whether that's a passion project that gifted and talented students do in enrichment time. The way it looks can vary, but the core doesn't change. You're building pipelines to your existing programs based on what you've learned about these students and what their interests are. And to me, that's the goal of education, is to help students become well-prepared, passionate individuals to go and make a change in their community. But if they don't know what resources are available to them in their community, your school district included, it's going to be a lot harder because they're going to have to navigate themselves. So the more you can structure your instruction around your existing pathways, the more you're going to build awareness and admissions recruitment into your pipelines. So again, I have lots of stuff to support districts and teachers in these processes. I'm offering 25% off everything site-wide in response to this COVID-19 crisis. I feel that it's the least that I can do to provide teachers, schools, and districts with a starting point and to help set some of these structures that I talked about in this presentation. Last, I'm always available for questions. I'm more than happy. I know there's a lot of them right now. This is all a brave new world for everybody. So please send any questions that you might have. I'm happy to answer them. I can be reached at ashley@careerinstem.com. You can also email me for your free resource and coupon code if you didn't register for this webinar. I will be sending it out to all registered attendees, but if you still want it and you're watching this maybe on YouTube or something, just email me, ashley@careerinstem.com, and I'll get you that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. It's going to be a fun new world despite the craziness. Good luck.